Hey guys, today's video is going to be a little bit of a special one. I get to talk to you a little bit about my own personal history with video cards a little bit and sort of talk to you about a special video card that I finally found for my collection that I've been after for a very, very long time. And it takes me back all the way to what originally influenced me to get interested in PC building, modding, gaming on PC and things like that. Back in the day, I was very heavily into PC gaming, but because I had friends who had PCs, my own parents had a Mac originally, so I played some games like Pathways into Darkness and things like that on Mac that my parents had. But I had my grandfather who had a PC that had like Doom, Duke Nukem 3D, Wolfenstein, all those old games that I used to play on his Windows 95 and DOS machine. I absolutely loved that. I spent hours down in his little workshop playing those games, especially Duke Nukem 3D. That was probably the one I played the most. But then I inherited a PC that was I'm talking like late 90s, 99, 2000. I inherited a PC from my auntie that was a 486. It was like one of the DX4 100 megahertz 486s, AMD ones. I had a Sound Blaster sound card in it. I can't remember the video card that was in it, but it was just good enough to run Duke Nukem 3D at like 15, 20 frames a second. You know, it was not great. Most of the games that I played were like the 2D games and things like that. It did play like Wolfenstein 3D pretty well and some other games like that. But I mostly used it really for music, actually. I had a really nice Sound Blaster sound card in it, and it was just... that was like my music box, essentially. You know, this is right at the cusp of when MP3 started to come in. I had a lot of CDs still, and you know, we were still dial-up internet at that time, so you weren't streaming, things like that. So everyone shared music on floppy disks or on CDs and things like that. And I just had a collection of music I'd listen to through Winamp.
Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
But anyway, getting back to the video card side of it. When I first actually got to buy a modern day computer for myself that I had in my bedroom, I didn't actually get a system that had a dedicated video card. I actually got a system that had an integrated GeForce 2 MX 200, I think it was. So it was the 32 meg. Sorry, it shared 32 meg of system RAM out of the 128 meg of system RAM that I had. I believe it was. It might have been 256. I can't remember. Had like a 40 gig hard drive. It was an Athlon XP 1800 plus. And it was a really nice machine. I at the time I was playing still Quake 2, not very much Quake 3, Counter-Strike 1.5 I was playing at the time, Unreal Tournament 99 I was still playing. They're the games that I was playing, so I didn't really need something super powerful. And 800 by 600, 1024 by 768, those resolutions were fine for like your 30, 40 FPS maybe at minimum settings. But some of my friends that I was hanging around with at the time, and the people I was studying with, they were much heavily into PC gaming and building PCs and things like that. And I ended up buying a video card that was an Asus GeForce 4 Ti 4800 SE. Beautiful card. I believe it was less than $300. I think it was maybe just over $200, maybe $280, $250, something. I don't know. It's Australian dollars, by the way, so maybe less than $200 US. And this was like, I think, very late 2002, maybe very early 2003. I think it might have been like January 2003, so I can't remember exactly. But I bought that video card, and it served me very, very well right as I was getting into that LAN party scene, the case modding scene. The original case that I got, I didn't start with a beige case with that case. It was like a silver case. And I just used Sharpie and coloured in parts of the plastic black, so it had like a silver and black theme to it and things like that. And that got me hooked. I had LED fans, PC case gear, had just started up, and they had like all your LED fans and all the things that you could buy for PC modding, window applicants, window kits, things like that. And boy oh boy did we sink a lot of money into that and modding our PCs. There was so much stuff that I did with that. But that video card, that TI 4800 SE, was very special because it got me into the industry that I'm in now for work, because it showed me myself that I really love that sort of stuff. You know, I was actually originally headed down a path of becoming a sparky or an electrician for you guys that don't live here in Australia. That was my path out of high school. I was wanted to head down and be a sparky. And I loved the electronics side of it, but the PC side of it was a bit different. It wasn't something I was really into. And so this video card got me into the PC scene, and not just, you know, having a family computer. It was the modding scene and the LAN party scene and the gaming and the camaraderie and the rivalry of all your teams and all that kind of stuff. And it really drove my passion, for learning the knowledge of PC hardware. I'd always spend time reading. I had a subscription to the Atomic magazines, which I still have all of those somewhere on a bookshelf in the house. And I have so many fond memories of that period of time when I first got into PC gaming and things. And when I started out with my collecting of video cards, I wanted to collect my original history of video cards, starting from that video card. But that card has been so elusive and so hard to find. I've had some of the guys in Discord trying to find it for me. I've had some other real mates over here in Australia try to find it for me. And this thing has just gone it's been so hard to find. I've only ever seen it once on eBay. It was in, I think, Romania or somewhere like that. But it was a part of a bundled retro system, and he wouldn't part it out. You had to buy the whole, it was like a Pentium 2 system or something like that he'd put it in. So, and he's like, oh, no, I can't part it out. Sorry. I'm like, damn it. But I've never ever seen it for sale anywhere else since then. Well, about two and a half weeks ago, I managed to find this card on eBay. And not only did I find it on eBay in Australia, I found it on eBay here in Melbourne, where I live. And the guy actually came and hand-delivered it to me. And I was a little bit dubious to start with because the guy didn't take the best quality of photos. And I know these cards were prone to having issues. So I was a little bit sketchy about whether it was actually going to turn out. It was pretty cheap, actually. I think it was maybe $40-$50, something like that, plus like $10 postage or something. I think from memory, maybe something around that. It might have been $60 or something. But I didn't think it was going to be in good condition. I know the copper on them tarnished, and I knew that it might have had some issues where it might not actually work. But to my thankfulness, I don't know how to describe it. But to my amazement, this card came and arrived in fully working condition, and in very good cosmetic condition as well. So it does have a little bit of copper tarnishing on it, but there's no scratches on the heat sinks and the back plates and things like that. And it's just a really amazing condition card. And it's the card that I've been looking for the most for years and years and years. Above any other rare engineering sample, nothing like a 5800 Ultra. This is the card that means the most to me. And it's the card that I've been trying to get for my entire collection the whole time since I've started to actively, search for old video cards. And I finally found it. And it was such a relief to chuck it in a system and go back to playing CS 1.5, Command & Conquer Generals, man, that was one we played, like 0 Hour and stuff expansion for that was fun, Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, a bit of Unreal Tournament, some of those old classic games, and play them exactly how I remember. And so much so how I remember, there's like maps in Unreal Tournament 2003, for example, which I really, really love that game, where I knew there were spots that the video card would lag at certain settings. And they lag the exact same way because the certain maps just don't handle that card too well because of it's a bit of a weird card, that one. The performance differences between that generation of card wasn't actually that big. So unlike at the moment where you have, your 2080 Ti, 2080, 2070, 2070 Super, all those sort of cards, while they sort of, in very bleeding edge modern games, sort of step down a little bit all the way, back in the day, you had very big jumps in performance between the mid-range to the high-end cards. You know, this was at a time where even flagship video cards couldn't always run the latest games at like 100 FPS or even 60 FPS sometimes. Games back then were much more CPU limited, much more storage limited, much more RAM limited. So video cards, while they did play a big part, you couldn't get by using like a cheaper-ish CPU and chucking in a high-performance video card and call it a day. You kind of had to have a well-rounded system to make everything sort of flow really well and work a little bit nicer. These days, you can't so much. You can put in a cheap little, you know, Pentium or 3000G Athlon Ryzen CPU or something like that, and chuck in a 2080 Ti, and you'll still get like 100 FPS and something, you know. Whereas back in the day, you couldn't really do that because the stuff was a lot more CPU bound and things like that. But the GeForce 4 range of cards, especially the Ti cards, the really low end stuff like the MX440s and stuff, they were pretty horrendous. But the Ti 4200, 4400, 4600, and 4800, the performance differences between those cards is actually not that much. So let's take 3D Mark 2001 for example. A Ti 4200, the one that I've got on my shelf, which is the silver one right there. That card I believe will do 9,800 to 10,000 points in 3D Mark 01 SE. But then the 4800 SE that I've got, which is essentially a Ti 4400, will do 1,000 points more. And then the Ti 4600 I've got, the one that I use in the main system, will do another 1,000 points more than that. And so your difference in those three products is about 5-7%, I think, maybe, in terms of their overall performance. But the prices for the cards were actually much bigger than that. So you'd easily add an extra $200 to $300 going from the Ti 4200 up to the Ti 4600. And then you have the Asus one that I've got with the gold copper, where that one was quite a bit more expensive than everything else. But the Ti 4800 SE, everyone, when I went to LAN parties and stuff, they're like, "Oh, you've got the cheap card," blah, 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 you know, there's, you know, your comments and things like that. But not only did it overclock really, really well, it actually kept up with Ti 4600s with a very small overclock on it, which was quite nice. And you had there's a guy that I remember, I can't remember his name, but we always used, he bought a Ti 4200, a nice one that I think he bought a Lead Tech one, and it had a nice big copper heatsink on it, and he overclocked, you know, pretty crazy on that thing. And he was getting pretty close to Ti 4600 performance himself. And when he found out that I bought this, you know, the 4800, he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's great and all, but it's you know, you're still not going to be able to compete with the 4600. It's basically just the 4200 on steroids, or you know, for AGP8, it's not really much performance, blah blah." And when I actually, you know, benchmark and things like that, he's like, "Oh, it's actually a bit faster." And I thought, like, yeah, AGP8X actually makes a big difference over 4X, like a substantial, you know, difference you'd actually notice. You know, when I think about it, you know, that video card played a very, very big part in why I'm sitting in front of you right now talking about this card and why I've got all of these cards behind me. You know, it might not have been the initial, you know, spark that caused me to really love PCs and PC gaming. That sort of probably more stemmed from my grandfather and his amazing workshop that he had with his PC, and you know, the time that I spent with him playing on that computer and things like that, and doing, you know, network queue rally over, you know, coaxial cable to the guy next door at the garage. We used to, you know, things like that. You know, my love for the gaming side of it probably stemmed from that. But the hardware side of it really kicked off when I got this video card and, you know, had to do, you know, upgrade my CPU cooler so I could do a bit of overclocking with the 1800 plus that I had. And, you know, I've got a lot, I owe a lot to this video card, and I can't believe it's taken me so long to find it. Having gone through very recently a very big life change in becoming a parent and pulling away a lot of my financial freedom that I had to buy a lot of video cards previously, going to that, I'd kind of actually got to the point where I thought I'd never find it again. And so it was such a relief to find it locally here in Australia and have someone come and hand deliver it to me. You know, yes, I still paid for the delivery, but I paid for the delivery of it to me regardless of whether he, you know, brought it to me or not. You know, it was worth it. bit of a scary moment when I put it in my Windows 2000 PC. I'd forgot that system doesn't like AGP 8X cards. You know, I stuck it in, it just blue screened every time I tried to load Windows, you know, to get through the boot up and get through everything. But this motherboard and the system I got, it's, you know, just above the desk here. That thing is super temperamental, you know. I went through like 5 or 6 hard drives trying to get that thing to boot properly. So, but anyway, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this sort of bit of history down to what my original first video card was. I'm very relieved to have finally found this video card, and I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been subscribed, and also for you guys out there that have been looking around for this card for me as well. You know, I know a lot of you did actually, you know, do a bit of research. I know there's actually some eBay sellers, for example, I'd buy a video card off of, and if I noticed that they were regular sellers of retro stuff, I just shoot them a message through and go, hey, if you ever run into this card, just give me a buzz, I'd love to buy it off you. And so many of them said, yeah, no worries, man, I'll look out for it. And I think a guy did actually get back to me at one point, but by the time I read his email and responded, the card had already been sold, so no go. But anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the footage I shot of the video card. I'm very limited for time this weekend. It's my birthday weekend, and I had a couple of hours yesterday to do some of the filming and the gameplay footage and bits and pieces. Then today, on a Sunday, I'm doing the voiceover stuff. But so anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.